In this screencast, we're going to look at additional inputs we can use with the microbit. So far we've been using things like on shake, on button A pressed, on button B pressed, on A plus B pressed. But there are a number of additional inputs that we can also use. Things like acceleration, rotation, the light level, so we can check what the light level is and do something based on that. We can check the temperature. We can check to see what the compass heading is, and the magnetic force. So these are just some of the ones that I'm going to look at. We'll go through each one after the other, and then we'll have a look at maybe a simple project that we can use to test some of these things and to do something with them. And then I'll do a separate screencast on some projects going through each one of these. So if we look at acceleration, there are a number of different things that we can check with acceleration. So we can get the acceleration x value, which is for left to right. We can get the y value, which is forward and back. We can get the z value, which is up and down. And these values are in milli g-force. And the value goes from minus 1023 to plus 1023. And then you can use the strength one, which is a combination of all three. And the values for strength is outside of that minus 1023 to plus 1023. And it depends on whether it's a strength in 2D or 3D. And if you want to have a look, maybe do a little bit of research on that. If you want to use that strength one, have a look at how it calculates that strength value. With rotation, we've got two different options. So we can have the roll, which is left to right, and the pitch, which is up and down. And this gives us a value in degrees from 0 to 360 degrees. The next one we're going to look at is the light level, and that is a value from 0 to 250. Now, one thing to be aware of with the light level, the very first time you call light level, the value will be set to 0. So my advice would be to set this in the start block, because if you're just checking it once, it will always be 0. So you need to check it, get that 0 value out of the way. So that's kind of a setting it up. And then the next time you set it, it will give you the true light value. So that's just something you need to be a little bit conscious of with the light value. So as I said, I would actually set that in the on start block and then use it somewhere else. We also have the magnetic force. So we've got an X, a Y and a Z. And again, just like with the acceleration, the X is left and right, the Y is forward and back, and the Z is up and down. And it can be a positive or negative value. A value that is close to 0 means that there's very little magnetic force. And then obviously the stronger the magnetic force, the greater that magnetic, those values. So the next input we're going to look at is compass heading. And this gives you the direction that the microbit is pointing in, and it's a value in degrees from 0 to 360. So if we look here, 0 is at the 12 o'clock, 90 is at 3 o'clock, 180 is at 6 o'clock, 270 is at 9 o'clock, and then we're back to 360 here, or the 0, which is at the 12 o'clock again. So we can look at how we can use that compass heading, maybe to show an arrow which shows the direction that the microbit is pointing in. So we'll just go to makecode.com now and have a look at how we can incorporate some of these things into a very basic project. So in this project, we'll just get rid of the on start and the forever for the minute. And we're going to say on shake, and we're going to store the variable. So we're going to make a variable, which is the acceleration x. And I'm going to click OK on that. And then I want to set acceleration x to, and if I go into input here, you can see acceleration. And you'll notice here that you've got an x, there's a y, there's a z, and there's a strength. So we can change them if we want. So we're going to set acceleration x to that. And then I'm just going to show that number, just so you can see what it's doing to start off with. So if I go to variables here, and just put across acceleration x, and now when I shake it, it shows it as 7, 2, 0. Okay, if I shake it again, 7, 3, 8. So you can see there's a slight difference. Now, because I'm shaking it, remember X is left to right. So when I'm shaking it, it's up here in the top right. So I'm always going to be predisposed to having it like that just because of the way the simulator is working. It will work differently on a microbit, on a true microbit, because when you're shaking it in different directions. So it's just, that's just something you can do. We can also maybe show the number. I don't even have to store the variable, but I just want to show you how you could store that variable. And this time I'm just going to show the number, and I'm going to get acceleration, and I'll show acceleration y. And maybe what I'll do in between is I'll do a little pause so I can see the difference between the two. And I might just do show the string x first, just so that I can see and I know what. So x will show as and then show acceleration x, the value, and then I'm just also going to show the y string after my pause. I'll just put y in there so I know which one is which. Okay. So here I'm just going to change the pause to 1000 just so that it pauses for a little bit of time, and I'll just put a pause in after the acceleration y as well. So we'll just do a little test of this now and see what is it actually doing for us. So when I shake it now it's quite hard to see what's happening there because I probably need to put a little pause in here after showing the string x because it's all happening very quickly. So I'm just going to go back in here and I'm going to bring a pause out. So I'll show the string x, I'll pause for 1000 milliseconds. I'm showing the acceleration value x, I'm then pausing again, I'm showing y. So I'll pause again just after that because what's happening is it's all happening just a little bit too quickly for us to even see. So there's my x, and that's 729, and then there's our y, and that's minus 785. So that's showing us the acceleration in the x and the y direction. Now I could also show the z if I wanted, but it's just really to show you how you can maybe use some of these things. So that's all for this screencast. In the next screencast I'm going to go through a project which uses each of those inputs that we've just gone through, and hopefully that will take you through how you can use them and maybe some ways you can possibly use them.